So interesting. I must admit, I do those things as well. I'm terrible. Start sitting there before you go to bed, start emailing and texting. I shall take your word for it and I'll stop doing that. Make sure I get a good night's sleep. So do we have any questions for Poppy at all? If you just take the microphone for us, thank you.
Poppy, firstly, thank you. I mean, that was great. And thanks for the TED Talk. Actually, I really enjoyed that. It was one of the best TED Talks I'd ever seen.
Major.
Yeah. I mean,
that was so accurate.
We obviously, all of us live amongst technologies 24/7, and the way you had covered pretty much every area and what are the pitfalls, and you were really passionate, so enjoyed it. A couple of quick questions. When you said technology is not an enemy, obviously we all know what we should use technology for and how we can sort of try to resist technology, but it doesn't happen. So first question is, obviously when I was growing up, healthy body breeds a healthy mind. So as you said, more than ever the gym memberships are high and we use it in the gym, getting fitter, but then again, it's not resonating in the mental health, just because of the fact that we're constantly plugged in. So there are possibly more questions than answers. Even to support a business where you're going to open a mental health, you need to use an app. Yeah. And that's not the only purpose that people are going to be using a mobile phone for. And we keep on switching. So I might check the mental health app, but immediately I might spend another hour on Facebook and Twitter. And so how do you send that message through technology, but at the same time resist people from using technology and empowering them not to use it for the different reasons? The second being, the peer pressure. I mean, I work in technology and feed of it all the time. For my working team, we have a WhatsApp group which was supposed to be created for work-related ideas and all, but 11 o'clock in the night, we're discussing line of duty and what happened last night, and people are just tweeting. And before you have spent half an hour. I try to be out of it, but when pretty much 90% of the team is sort of back and forth and discussing it, and you must have sometimes had a shitty day and you just want to go back and plug out and sleep, but you can't do that. So how do you manage sort of those expectations and staying still popular, but at the same time, the pressures? I mean, yeah, so.
It's really interesting. So I'm going to answer your second one first. I think it's about boundaries. It's and caring about yourself before anything else, because I would look at that situation of I'm a massive people pleaser, so I don't want to upset anyone. So if someone wants to get into this massive, deep, meaningful conversation before bedtime, I'm like, shit, probably should message you about your boyfriend breaking up or something like that. But at the same time, if I'm then speaking to someone till 3 a.m. and I wake up really tired, then I'm not able to be my best self the next day. So I think it's look at it actually putting yourself at the center of your universe in order to have longevity, because you can't be the person leading the Call of Duty conversation 7 days a week, because the next week you're going to be exhausted. And so I think it's having boundaries and being able to pace yourself. And that's the thing with technology, and I suppose what I just spoke about is technology almost doesn't give us any boundaries. We can talk to people all through the night. It's not like we've got to wait 5 minutes for an internet connection anymore. It's not like we run out of credit and we've got to wait the next day to top it up. We are almost given too much. And I think that is the crisis in our society at the moment. We can have everything, and suddenly the choice is chaotic and it's causing so much stress. So I think it's restriction, and I'm fascinated by restriction. In order to light a match, the match has to have restriction to create fire. And I always think if you want to create light in your life, restrict every possible opportunity. Like where can I go and how can I restrict to create light in that moment?
It's a tough one with young people though.
100%. Yeah, totally, and they're going to have to learn it for themselves, and they may have an awful technology hangover, and I think they are, because self-esteem, the statistics, the American Psychological Association came out saying millennials are the most stressed out generation that's ever lived. Anxiety levels are an 80-year high. Many of us have not lived through wars. Food is on the table. We've roof over our head, but yet we are suffering psychologically the most. So I think we are struggling a lot, and I think we're all going to have to learn that, because we're not being rationed. Society is not rationing us, so we will have to let in place those boundaries ourselves. To your first point, How do you use technology to our advantage? I think that, for example, Happy Not Perfect, my mental wellbeing startup, it's not telling people to get off Facebook or Instagram. At the end of the day, Instagram is great for my work. I use it commercially, so I'd be a massive hypocrite saying that it's bad. And again, none of these things, the moderation, are bad. We just don't live in a moderated world anymore. So I think, Facebook is great to be involved in. Emails are fantastic. All of these things are amazing, but how do we use them in balance?
Straight down the middle.
Thank you. So my co-founders and I and our whole team, we get on really well socially. And we always say we need to do more, we need to hang out, we need to do things outside of work. But whenever we do that, the chat always turns back to work. And I don't know what the relationship with you and your co-founders are, but do you socialise outside of it? Like, can you hang out with your work colleagues and your co-founders in a separated way without the chat just turning straight back to what's happened in the office and what deadlines are going to be missed or whatever?
I find this fascinating because, so one startup I have with my best friend is an accessories line, and we were living together, and that's how we kind of came up with the idea, and we then met our co-founder, who then has become a very good friend. And one thing I get asked a lot is, do you regret going into business with your best friend? Because they always say don't mix, business and pleasure. And then I ended up living with a girl that became our creative director. So we were living in this house with my creative director, who's best friends with the CEO, my co-founder's my other best friend, and it was really intense. And when the business is going well, it's a party every night, it's great, and then suddenly there's an issue, and it's like, oh God, what are we doing? We are all in each other's environment, and is this healthy? I don't know. And I think it is really about managing that process, because I think startups can get so claustrophobic because they mean so much to you. It's like having a child, as I'm sure you can imagine. You care about this thing more than anything, and so does your best friend, so does your co-founder, and so and your emotions are so much higher because there's more on the line. Everyone's dedicated their life to the success of these things. So I think that it is important to make sure you carve out time that isn't with your co-founders, because I think you are able to then, when you join together, bring more inspiration, bring more perspective. If you're all in the same cooking pot the entire time, how can you bring extra things to the table? So I would really encourage spending time outside of it. I think if you're really respectful, I think actually forced socializing time, I don't really see the need for. Like, let's not talk about work. At the end of the day, I'm thrilled I can talk about work with you because I cannot bore my other friends with the nitty-gritty of the startup. So actually, I love the fact I can hang out with my co-founders and we can be so self-indulgent and talk about our life the entire time because the other person cares about it. And then my other startup, I think I have a way less than personal relationship with all of them. It's very business. And actually I prefer it because, again, we will meet up, we will have a scheduled amount of time together, we will just talk about the business and we'll leave. And as soon as it does go on to personal stuff, I'm like, you're not my friend. And you know what, I don't want to be friends because I just want to talk about work. And I like that too. So I think it's how the relationship is. One's very friendship-based, one's very work-based, and I think it kind of you just work out what works best for you. But especially in a startup, God, it's so much emotions involved in them. So I think it's really important to get a balance.
Perfect. So we've got time for one last quick question before we need to close. Okay, last question.
You were talking about us living in an unmoderated world. How much of this is our drive for instant gratification that is now coming back and biting us in the side? Because the same way we demand it as consumer, we're actually it's being demanded from us at work, at our delivery to our customers. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle.
I find our generation absolutely fascinating. I think that we are in a world where we have become very ADHD because of the media that we consume, and I'm sure Jamal Nesby TV can vouch for this. Video content has to change every 3 seconds so people stay engaged. Then also, people are okay with the affirmation a picture and likes give you. So we've almost become this like half-hearted society where it's like, it's fine, my Instagram profile says I'm this, so I get all this external affirmation and validation, and I'm okay, and I don't really need to follow through with it. And then we kind of feel this sense of like emptiness because we haven't really gone through with everything to the end. We've kind of got halfway, we've posted a photograph, and we're like, yeah, like, and then we don't need to go the whole way. I think it's, and to your point, and I did a TED talk about it, we've become addicted to validation. When we get a like, it sparks dopamine in our brains, and so we want more likes, and we then end up living our life, as they say, they make a joke out of it, living life for the gram. But sadly, it's become a reality for so many. And so I think it's really important to monitor, again, your relationship with am I doing this for me? Am I doing this for my external identity? And has my external identity become more important than my internal identity? And is my internal and external matching up? I find it fascinating. We all got, Facebook just launched, and suddenly we were all made to create digital avatars of ourselves. We didn't have a handbook to do it, and now maybe our online identity is more important than our physical one, because more people see that every single day. So we live in a strange world, and it's not like anyone's been in this world before us. So it doesn't matter what age you are, we are all experiencing this together. I think we are now kind of going into this like digital hangover, because we had 10 years of like, this is so exciting, oh my God, I have all my friends on here. And now we're like, oh God, what does that mean?
Well, I think that is a great question to leave it on, to let the congregation ponder on that one. So thank you very much, Poppy. That was very interesting. Thank you.